Doo-dee-dee-dee, scat, scat, scat.
Hey everyone, you are listening to AP Marvel episode 36. Is that right, Izzy?
Yes.
Okay, right. 36. I'm Chris Compendio. I'm here with Izzy Show.
Hi.
Sabrina Clark.
Hey, everybody.
And Anthony Paone. And Anthony's on his way here. We're going to. We're kind of mashing this episode together. We did an availability poll, and it was dire because we only had like 30 minutes all overlapping together. So actually, what we're doing today is we're going to talk about our Marvel Musing little Patreon letters. If you have been following us, you probably know that we have a Patreon campaign, and one of our exclusive benefits is these little letters that we send. They're not like formal essays, but they're just like kind of trains of thoughts of like what's going on with us as fans of Marvel and media in general. So we thought we'd introduce our first four Marvel musings from each of the four of us. So yeah, we're gonna go out of order here. Before we start, I'm gonna put these essays because they were Patreon exclusive. I'm gonna put these four essays. They're going to be on the Medium blog that we have to read for free, so you can follow along with us. So because Izzy has to go, again, like everything, the schedule's kind of crazy today, we're going to start with Izzy's. Hers was Marvel Musing number 2, and it is called On Growing Up with Marvel. Izzy, did you want to, like, sum up basically what you wrote for us? I really liked reading this, by the way.
Cute. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so my voice was like cut out there. But like, yeah, basically, I think Chris wrote their first Marvel Musing like the week before like essentially my birthday. And like when Chris was polling, like, oh, does anyone want to write one for next week? I said I thought like, oh, like my birthday's next week. Like that might be fun and interesting to write. But I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll write it. And that was, I guess, like what I started with, and I had to go on. And writing it, like, it's a great time to a nice time to reflect on like what I've been telling my friends, because like, I turned 21, and feels a little different, but not that much different than being 20. I can say now after me being in 3 weeks into it, but I reflected on like how Marvel essentially has been part of my life in a lot of senses, like not just through this, but like just throughout my childhood, because I guess I've never really noticed it before, because before I used to read like a lot more DC comics. Like I think the 2012 Suicide Squad run is really good. Well, I guess like at least the first volume, and then it just went downhill. But I used to be a lot more like for Injustice and like the Teen Titans. Like I was a lot more interested like on the DC side, and then Marvel just sort of snuck up in my life in a way. And so, and especially with like Endgame coming out in April, I wanted to sort of like also discuss like my thoughts on that, because as I mentioned, I don't think Endgame's the closing of a chapter. It feels like more of a new beginning, and it's gonna be sad, but yeah.
Yeah, yours is very personal. It's very you kind of go into extreme detail of the partying side of Izzy, right? Like hypotheticals. Okay. Oh, sure. Yeah. No, none of this is actual. This might not have actually happened. The hypothetical Izzy that is partying, because that would be irresponsible. But, I mean, your piece is literally about becoming responsible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way. Like, you're talking about your life balance, your life-work balance, and you talk about how growing up is, part of growing up is realizing that responsibility that you have, not only to yourself, but towards other people. So how do you feel that Marvel Studios in particular are kind of intertwined with that? Like you say that like it's kind of growing up with you, or are you growing up with Marvel? I'm not really sure exactly what, but yeah, just kind of talk about how they kind of intersect, like your own growth and how Marvel movies have grown too, I guess.
Yeah, like it's a little bit of like I think a lot of growing up is realizing that change happens and that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like I feel like sometimes I consider myself adaptable, but change is always hard no matter what.
Sure.
And like there are, I mean, like I know for Sabrina at least because she's in the year above me in college, like phase 3 was literally her college years, and so that's
entirely
pretty crazy. Yes, the entirety, and so that's like in the same vein, but much less, but much more shitty of how my college years will be the Trump administration. Like that's how that's like phase 3 like forms like Sabrina's college years, and it's funny how like time, like you mentioned Chris in your Marvel Musing about like time and like sort of time nomenclature. That's not the right way to, like, I guess, to talk about it, but like
yeah, I don't even know what to call it.
Things.
I wrote it, but yeah.
That's how like time marks things, and I was thinking about that too because like like it's really time in all is just really uncertain, and that's like we still need to like we're I guess all just trying to accept that. Like I'm still trying to accept that, but it's important I think to touch on, and especially if you see like after especially growing up with Marvel, like some people I guess like phase out of it. We don't, but I think as we grow older, I think we also as we develop and like become older, like I feel like half of us will be like, oh, remember like the good old days, because people are always like that. But
sure,
we can not always, but like we can also look back on it and say like, okay, this is what you've done. Maybe if you're not doing that great now, like you should go back to your roots, or like we can look at it with this sort of really with this like this experience of like us us growing up with it and like us living through it and like us wondering about it.
Sabrina, did you feel any like like kinsmanship, like oh yeah, like I've gone through like a similar, like, did you feel any resonance reading Izzy's piece, or like kind of hearing about her talk about it right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most interesting thing to me was the 21. Like that was the coolest thing of like their 22nd film is Endgame, and I was like, whoa, wait, what? Like there's a whole which also goes back to your point, Chris, about time and like how all of this is interwoven and interconnected. But I think what I took away from Izzy's Marvel Musing is this deep connection that we've kind of been given. It's not like, it's kind of hard to walk around and not talk about the MCU. Okay, not to run into it. It's impossible to not run into it in some way. Whether that's like, I don't know, some news about Joss Whedon, or like Scarlett Johansson, or here we go, most recently, the Super Bowl was last night. Chris Evans is a Patriots fan, obviously.
Oh,
so,
also, sorry,
go
Sabrina,
ahead.
there's this really great meme of Tom Brady as Thanos that you should probably see.
See? There is no possible way to avoid this. There is no way to avoid this, and I think that I think it's kind of cool that so many people, kind of what we talk about in our Stuco is we like to get the students thinking about the considerations that are being made, that Kevin Feige and the team of people on each individual project, what they're all talking about and having to consider when taking on each of these films. And a lot of times people will say like, oh, well, they really want the audience to connect to these characters in some way. How can we do that? How do we adjust the way that we tell these stories so that we're connecting to our audience better, and also like encompassing all age groups? Because you get the little kids, like I think of like the little boy with the Iron Man hand glove thingy, all the way to our Stan Lees, rest in peace. But like it's that idea that we're all being so heavily influenced by something that we cannot escape, and it's kind of by design. So I guess it's like a weird are we autonomous? I don't know. I'm taking this in like so many different directions, time and space, and are we sentient human beings? But shout
that's
out
another Marvel
for-
musing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say? Because I don't want to keep you for too long, since you have it's Monday. We're recording this. So you got stuff to do.
Yeah, I think I will say, I guess if you've read my Marvel musing, I did not have a rager on my 21st birthday. I had it the day after, but it was like really small.
Okay.
With like
Sure.
it was really small in with my group of friends. We just had it in like someone's house. It was like still super. It was like still like fairly low key.
Yeah.
It was a fun time. It was also marked by because I think I talked about this. Like it was super busy. Like I had like a big retreat I had to go to, so we had to schedule around that. And it gave me like stuff to do over the long weekend, which was nice. And so, yeah, that's really
cool. Yeah, no, that's a good way to spend a 21st birthday. Happy late birthday! That was the same day Punisher Season 2 came out. None of us, I finished it because I had to review it, but none of us finished it, which is why we're not talking about Punisher today, but I think this is more wholesome than talking about
Yeah, I know Chris was heated about that. So, I kind of, looking at what they said, I'm like, yeah, that's not the best positioning, but yeah. That's not great.
Yes. We're growing up, the MCU is growing up, apparently Frank Castle's not growing up.
Well, he might be canceled, so...
Well, probably, yeah. Anywho. Izzy, thanks for writing that for us. Thanks for sharing your experience. Oh, sorry, your hypothetical experience. If you were to drink before the age 21, who would ever do such a thing?
Drinking before 21?
That's absurd.
A concept?
How dare you?
I will say though, the first 3 days of my birthday,
The first 3 days of your birthday, yes. Go on.
The first 3 days. The first 3 days after I turned 21,
okay.
I got a beer at a restaurant. I had my fucking rager and got alcohol. So my big retreat was we had a retreat at campus, and then we went quote unquote glamping, and then we had alcohol. We had alcohol there. So I have drunk for 3 straight days. Saying I am not drunk now, but that happened. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just you watch your restaurant bills, because you're just gonna be getting drinks. With every meal.
Oh yeah, I went
Purgatory.
Oh my god, yeah. Ooh, but yeah, I went to Wine Wednesday. It's this thing in Pittsburgh, at one of the restaurants, last Wednesday, and I spent $40 on wine. I'm like, God, what are you turning into?
That's a great question, Izzy.
Yeah.
Oh well. Anywho, yeah. Thanks again for sharing that with us.
Of course.
Yeah, we can let you go now if need be, and then I guess we'll take a break. And Anthony is jumping in and out of this call.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it was. That was about. Okay.
Yeah. What is he doing? Okay. All right. Thanks, Izzy.
Of course.
Hey, we're back. We're back, everyone. This is AP Marvel episode 36, points 25, I guess you can call it, because we did 1/4 of things we need to do. Again, I'm Chris Compendio. Sabrina's still here. Anthony Paone is now here. Hello, Anthony.
What? Hey, what's up?
God damn you.
Damn me.
What is happening?
I don't know. I've been a mess today, squad.
Yeah. To give some context, we've been on a break for 30 minutes, and Anthony keeps making us he wants us to start so we can use the bathroom, and we're like, dude, just use the bathroom now. But
why'd you have to bring up the bathroom into this?
Because I have to let the people know what is happening.
You don't have to let them know anything. You don't have to let them know about my list.
We have to provide context.
My list. I have a list of things. Do you know what's also on this list, other than doing laundry, calling my father, recording other shit? It also says I also have with a little arrow next to it, go to the bathroom, because I have to have on the list to remind myself to go to the bathroom. I'm a mess today. I've never been this much of a mess in my... So this is what happens when I leave work late. It's because of this. This shit happens.
Uncle Tony. Are you done? Are you ready?
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, we're back, everyone.
Wait, you're doing that? Just get into it.
Yeah. Okay,
Hi,
so
everybody.
we're going to
It's
talk
me,
about
Anthony.
we talked about Marvel Musing number 2. That was Izzy's on growing up with Marvel. We're going to rewind and talk about me for a second.
Ooh.
Yeah. Speaking of a total mess, 2018.
What a shit
true.
show. Fuck that. Fuck that year. That year fucking sucked.
Yeah, so my piece was called A New Year Brings New Unknowns. And looking back, I feel like I talked about the most obvious things ever, yet it is still concepts that kind of boggle me. So, just to give a little summary, I was like, why... I was thinking more about award shows and how we kind of pit movies against each other, and the only thing they have in common is the year in which they came out. And I've always found years, like specific calendar years, to be a weird unit of measurement of like, oh, we're going to like do a best of 2018 because these all came out with each other. So let's compare these things that are like totally different and try to like objectively say this thing was better than this thing, even though they're completely different. So again, it was just kind of like this nonsensical thing that I was just, it's like one of those shower thoughts that I have. But I kind of came to a realization of there's something cool about not knowing what's coming up ahead in the calendar year. So if we're going to divide it that way, when you think about 2019, my favorite stuff, like my favorite video game, my favorite movie, my favorite book or whatever of 2019 will probably be something that I've not heard of yet, which I think is really cool, you know? Like, I loved Sorry to Bother You, and I had not heard about that until, like, the day before I saw it. And, you know, like, Wandersong is a video game I talked about. Like, I did not learn about that game until, like, weeks before, and then that's, like, the thing I've been singing praises about. So, yeah, it's me trying to come to terms with the idea of the calendar year, of talking about art with that frame, with the year as a frame. So, yeah, Sabrina, ask me questions because I'm not going to ask myself questions here. Like,
Well, thank you for letting me take the reins here. I feel like a real teacher now. No longer substitute. I am official teacher. So one of the things that really stuck out to me was talking about 2019, the 2019 trio of Captain Marvel, Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home being sort of like 2018 Part 2. Did I get that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So could you expand a little bit more on that? Because I think from what I'm understanding from what you've written, I think I agree with you, but I would just love to hear you talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah. So I think I touched upon it a bit in our Christmas episode, but it was basically like, Captain Marvel is trying to be kind of a cultural force, you know, like this very female-oriented thing, especially with the marketing of this. Endgame is the marquee, hey, everyone is here, title that's going to make like more than $1 billion. Right. And then Spider-Man is basically the, you know, Anthony, you kept calling Ant-Man the Wasp like a palate cleanser. And I felt that Far From Home was supposed to be that. And then I saw the trailer and it was all this.
I think it's going to
definitely is that.
Yeah,
right.
Probably. Yeah. Also, bugs. They're both bugs, ants and spiders.
Oh,
so
yeah.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, there was one thing that kind of was like interesting. You know, I think Brie Larson pointed out that she signed like that, not petition, but signed up for that thing that said like she'll only be in movies directed or written by women for like the next 5 or 7 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think it was
didn't know about
her
that.
And a few other people that signed up for that list of things. I saw her tweet about it, and I thought that was like, that's really interesting, and that sets like a precedent, especially like with Captain Marvel being like the first movie she's in.
Yeah,
Well,
I think I saw a
yeah.
headline that was like Universal Studios has committed to hiring female directors. Like there was some sort of pledge that was going on, and like the headline was like Universal Studios is the first major studio to go along with this. I didn't read the story yet, but that's kind of a thing that I saw in passing.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it's kind of like not necessarily like big studios hire women to do things. It's more like we just recognize women doing things. Like women independent writers and women independent directors are like super important as well. And I think that, yeah, because I think like Universal is like, we're going to capitalize on people loving diversity and women, so we're going to now focus on doing that.
Yeah. Speaking of recognized women, Sabrina, did I interrupt you earlier?
It's totally all right.
Okay,
We were talking about Brie Larson and
Yes.
Captain Marvel. Oh, yes. I was just going to ask about whether or not... Well, because the 5 films deal, being that Endgame, well, it was also filmed before she signed that. That was my question, was whether or not she signed it and then accepted Captain Marvel. I think it's the other way around.
It's more like a vocal, like a thing like, I pledge to do this. It's
Right.
not like a contract or something.
Okay.
And
then also...
yeah.
Go ahead. Because I'm
No, I
switching topics
was gonna say like it was like Avengers Endgame was already filmed before this happened.
now. Okay, yeah.
So what were you saying?
The other thing is that Regina King from most recently, If Beale Street Could Talk, when she accepted her Golden Globe that she had won for Best Actress in a Supporting Role Drama. Wow. The whole category. Just gave it. Okay, anyway. She mentioned that she was also only going to hire and work with women and marginalized groups as well. So I feel like those pledges are really important, and it's sort of interesting because in a way that is kind of 2018 part 2, this whole like residual, people call it like the post Me Too movement, but I feel like we're still in that. Cough, cough, Bryan Singer, cough, cough.
Ew.
And so I feel like we are still getting that residual, like people standing up and making a political statement about how they feel about the current climate of Hollywood, but it's still fresh in that we're still allowing new stories to take place. Even though Captain Marvel is a part of like the larger MCU, it's still like a new story to be told about a new character who is a woman.
Right. Okay. Birds of Prey is being directed by an Asian American woman, correct? Kathy Yan, I think is her name.
I think you would be correct.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Let me ask you guys, what are you looking forward to in 2019, like media, in terms of media, besides Marvel stuff, out of curiosity? Anthony, you're always excited about stuff. What are you excited about this year?
Sorry. I was reading some really heavy shit about Liam Neeson on Twitter. Like, holy fuck.
Okay, we can.
I'm sorry. No, it's just Liam Neeson. I actually met Liam Neeson by accident. He went to his son. His son went to my high school.
Okay.
I hung out with his son.
Okay.
And so
Cool.
reading this, like I knew that he was kind of like, but like reading this was just like, ooh, bye. Like, I'm not going to consume your content, ever, again. But sorry, what am I excited about and not disappointed in? We talked about this on previous episodes, but I am so stuck on so many other games and movies from 2018 and TV shows that I just need to fucking catch up. I'm
backlog, the backlog.
I am still stuck on that backlog.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just looking at my PS4 and all of my games are 2018. The only new 2019 game is Apex Legends, and I'm gonna play it today.
That came out at the day of this recording.
That came out the day of this recording.
Revealed and released.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I'm just so busy with stuff.
But do you feel like there's going to be a thing that you don't know about that will sneak up on you, and then you will be singing
like
that thing's praise?
I'm so pumped. And it kind of was like interesting that there's like always trios of things that are you know, like from last year and this year, you have there's Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home, but like last year, when you in your article you referenced God of War, Spider-Man, and Red Dead as like the top 3 contenders, and it's like, yeah, those were big, you know, talking points when it comes to video games last year.
And then I was fixated on the other stuff.
Oh, of
like,
course,
that
yeah.
wasn't those things,
Yeah,
like the things
so,
I
like,
was not expecting.
I'm excited. I'm excited for a few things. I'm excited for. There were some movies like I can't remember them right now, but there's a few movies that like I saw the trailers to that I'm super excited for. The movies and TV shows that I remember are, I'm excited for the Twilight Zone TV show by Jordan Peele.
Yeah. Jordan Peele.
I'm super excited for that. Excited for Us. I'm excited for James Gunn's horror superhero movie.
I forget what that's called, but yeah.
Blackburn or something like that.
Sure.
And then I'm excited for Guillermo del Toro's Stories to Read in the Dark.
Presented by, yes. Well, actually, you know what? Let's talk briefly about Apex Legends, because I feel like I'm going to enjoy that a lot, and we did not know it existed until like today.
Today, yes.
That's a huge example of like the things we will love the most, or things we don't
Battle
know
Royale.
about. Yeah, but it's like, man, wow, you just dropped that on us, and that's. Imagine if, like, I don't know, like, I'm not saying that like there's going to be another good Cloverfield movie, but imagine if there's like Cloverfield 4 comes out
I watched the
next
Cloverfield,
week.
I watched the Cloverfield thing that came
On
out
Netflix?
last February, and it was weird, but
it wasn't
very good. It wasn't very good. It was
So,
it was a waste of a good cast for sure.
There was 2 big things. There was 2 big Netflix things that I was super excited about going into 2019. Velvet Buzzsaw and The Umbrella Academy. I saw Velvet Buzzsaw this weekend, and I was very disappointed in it. I thought the first act was great, and then I'll talk about it in my Tony. You probably already heard it by the time this airs. But goddamn, I am so disappointed with how it turned out.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more visually exciting, and it wasn't. And the other thing is Umbrella Academy, which like the reviews came out for it, and people are saying it's kind of boring. Like, there's so much exposition in the beginning, and then like the ending kind of is good, but like it's still kind of like it drags on, and like I'm just so disappointed by that, because like I wanted that to be cool. So the things that I wanted to be excited about are already uneventful, and I'm very disappointed in that. What other things am I excited about? Entertainment-wise, I don't know.
But you're probably going to like a lot of things that you don't even know about yet.
No, yeah. And
that's my theory, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the point of your musing, and I really like that concept, and it kind of, you know, it's like, it keeps me hopeful of, like, you know, like, oh, when you got something down, you know, there could be something that, like, just comes around the corner.
Yeah,
it's not
totally.
It's not a perfect metric to, you know, go about your day, but it is something to, you know, think about.
Yeah. Sabrina, do you have any similar feelings about that, of just the unknown of 2019?
Yeah, I mean, I just, while you guys were talking, was just looking up the list of 2019 releases, and I found a couple of things I actually am quite excited for, so I'm going to try and go in chronological order. Again, this is like films outside the MCU, because obviously excited for most of all the things that they have at least announced. I guess like MCU wise, I'm really, really, really excited to see what it is that they unveil at D23. But, you know, we don't know until we get there. But until then, the very first thing that I'm excited for is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah. That's coming out, scheduled for July 26th. This is directed and written by Tarantino. So
Tarantino, but I'm excited for this movie.
Exactly. I really like the cast. I'm really interested to see Margot Robbie and Dakota Fanning. Also, shout out to Victoria Pedretti, who is currently the star of
Margot Robbie's character dies.
Stop it. Sharon Tate. Isn't that history? Don't people know that?
Yeah, yes, that's the joke.
That's just joke.
Anthony, I was literally about to make a very important shout out. Okay, so shout out to.
I just wanted to make a joke.
Okay. Well, shout out to Victoria Pedretti, who is
Yes.
most commonly known from The Haunting of Hill House right now. She is an alum of Carnegie Mellon, and I think I met
lived
her.
on my
I met her
floor!
at like a party once last year. She's really nice.
She lived on my floor,
and
I had a crush on her.
that's so funny. Yeah, so she's
That's
going to be in
kinda
that
weird.
too.
I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It's really strange,
Yeah.
but she's super talented. So that's the first film that I'm excited for. And then next up, in November, which is my birthday month, apparently the new Charlie's Angels is set to come out, directed
Okay.
by Elizabeth
Oh,
Banks
jeez.
and like starring her and Sam Claflin and Kristen Stewart. So question mark.
I saw some set photos. They looked really cool.
I'm really interested to see what that's
jeez.
going to be. Also, Men in Black 2, LOL, Men in Black, the new one.
International.
International, thank you, is coming out. Can't wait for
Liam
that because I
Neeson's
love
in
Tessa
it.
Thompson. And then finally, almost finally, not yet. Okay, well, first is Idris Elba's Yardi. Can't wait for that. This is his first film that he's directing. And then,
Ooh.
and then lastly is Kingsman 3, and obviously Star Wars Episode 9. But Kingsman 3 is coming out November 8th, apparently.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So
Yeah, they have a release date, and we have no clue what that's going to
my
be.
birthday.
Like I
We,
thought
have
it's
no,
gonna be
we don't know a
prequel,
title.
I think.
We don't have a trailer. we have nothing.
it just says plot unknown, third installment of the Kingsman franchise.
Perfect.
But also
But
with
Daniel
Star Wars,
Bruhl
we
is
don't
in
know
it.
the name of the Star Wars movie.
Daniel Bruhl.
But Daniel Bruhl's in it, and Rhys Ifans, who played he played
He was
the
Lizard.
yes.
And, Xenophilius Lovegood. Good.
Oh, okay. But I was also gonna say, oh yeah, you did say it. You said Lizard, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And also Corbin O'Brien and Snowden. Not that anyone's seen Snowden, but
Brief little interjection. There's also Hobbs and Shaw.
oh god,
I am so looking forward to that.
I am so excited.
so
for
many
that movie.
muscles.
So many muscles.
Idris
so much
Elba's a
explosion.
cyborg in that movie.
It's so I did not like that trailer. I don't like his pants. That's what it is. Because like I'm like all for him being like a bionic man, and he's got this really he's bulletproof. You know, that's cool. But
Yeah, bulletproof.
for some reason, like his jacket is like okay, cool, tough motorcycle vibe, and then his pants, I'm like, what is happening?
It's more function than fashion, Sabrina.
No, it's not
Look,
about
it's-
fashion. The cut just doesn't work for his body type.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I got
We need
Detective
more people like
Pikachu.
you,
I
Sabrina.
got
Detective
Shazam.
Pikachu.
I got
Detective Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Toy Story 4. I'm curious about The Lion King. I'm not excited about it, but I'm curious about it. It Chapter 2.
Yeah, looks
Joker.
good.
James
Terminator
McAvoy's going to be
reboots.
in that movie. And James McAvoy's going to be in the It Part 2.
Whomst?
What? James
Bill
McAvoy.
Hader is in that. James McAvoy's in that. Jessica Chastain's in that.
That's a
Is
wild
Idris
cast.
Elba in that?
No, I think it might be Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh, it's the fucking Old Spice guy.
Oh, Isaiah Mustafa.
Yes.
Love him.
Not Terry Crews, but the other Old
Terry
Spice guy.
Crews! Love him. Sorry.
Yeah, if only. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine
Right.
still on.
yeah.
Great
good,
show, by
good.
the way.
Thank God. Shout out Fox for bringing that back.
Anywho, Tony, do you want to talk about Hbomberguy?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Not now. Time to me.
Wait.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah, one more thing was actually I forgot about this. What is it? Colombian film? Yes, a Colombian film, a Colombian drug drama called Birds of Passage that premiered
my.
at the Cannes Film Festival in Directors Fortnight, but it is coming out in the U.S. in 2019. So,
What was that? What was that word you said?
which one?
You said
Fortnite?
directors
Fortnite?
something.
Directors Fortnight. It's like it's one of the like little.
Is there a bunch of directors jump out
Playing
of a
Fortnite?
a bus,
Tony,
a
get
bus
your head out of the
type
gutter. There's
object,
more to
and,
life.
some of them have maybe pink hair and are just like ninjas, and then jump out of onto an island and they find guns of some kind, and then the directors hunt, and then the last one standing
Gets to
makes a
debut their
movie.
film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that
Exactly.
what that is?
Yes,
Oh, okay,
that's what
cool.
it is. Great job.
Just wanted to make sure. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
I hate
you got
him
it.
so much. Anyway, Anthony,
Wait,
Hbomberguy.
but before we talk about that, still, I
Yeah.
just remembered Sundance Film Festival had a bunch of really cool movies coming out. There's a movie called The Lodge, starring what's her name? Elvis Presley's daughter, Lauren Q.
Huh.
Man.
I want to say that's her name. It's Keouh. I cannot pronounce that last name.
Oh, Riley
but-
Keough? Riley? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, Riley, not Lauren.
I love her.
Yeah.
Kia.
And holy fuck! Apparently, people said it's amazing. So I'm also
she's
excited
so
for that
good,
movie.
too.
Alicia Silverstone is in this.
The past 2 years have had amazing horror movies, and we need to keep that trend going.
Oh my god, stop.
We need good, like, thought-provoking horror movies, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. Now we're on to the cool shit. 2019 kicked off an amazing way. One of the great left-tubers that I have constantly talked about, along with, like, I've mentioned a bunch of people in this podcast, and one of them, Hbomberguy, cool dude from the UK. It's like, you know what? There's an asshole out there, a transphobic piece of shit, and he was trying to, get a mob to try to defund a trans youth organization from getting any charity money that the UK gives out every year. Like, there's like an organization that, like, gives out a set amount of money to a specific nonprofit, and it was chosen to be Mermaids, which is a trans youth organization, and this one fucko who was one of the co-writers for Father Ted and wrote
the IT crowd, right?
The IT crowd, yeah, the IT crowd, and which is the one people will remember. Older people will remember Father Ted, but basically, transphobic piece of shit. And just to spite him, Hbomberguy, Harris, wanted to say, you know what, I'm going to do a Twitch stream, raise a couple of bucks, everyone can join in, I'm going to beat, is what he said, I'm going to beat, Donkey Kong 64, never beat it ever, and he's going to 101% it, which is apparently takes like the world record is 6 hours, I want to say, but that's after years of churning it out, and a Donkey Kong speedrunner, like the first time he was going through it took him 26 hours to do it, before it got refined. And,
something like that. Yeah.
And Harris was going to be like, I'm going to just do it, all weekend. We'll see. I'll do it until I beat the game. And, people can come in and out. I'll have friends on, to keep me awake, and all that stuff. And if I raise X amount of money, I'll, go to sleep. But, that would be a crazy amount of money. I'll probably never get there. His starting, donation, I can't think of the word right now. Chris, help me out.
Well, starting donation. What do you mean?
Like tier or something?
Yeah, not tier, but
like the first goal.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't think of it. First donation goal was $500, and in a matter of seconds of turning on the stream, he already had $500, and he thought that this is a crazy amount of money. I would never amount to getting this. To donate to this, he got was $5,000, and in under an hour he got $5,000. In under 30 minutes he got a $5,000, and that was just signs to come. Over the course of the next 3 days, he started this on a Friday. Over the course of the next 3 days, he raised over. I lost the number. Hold on, I don't have it in front of me.
I wrote down. Do you want me to tell the grand total?
Yeah.
It was over $340,000, basically.
Yep. And that was not including any subscriptions going on.
Yeah.
During that event, not including any of the bits, because he just didn't count those in yet, because Twitch takes a bit of time to get those through.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, $100,000 more than what the UK was going to give Mermaids.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's wild. He didn't think this would ever happen. None of us did. Anyone watching the stream was just baffled by what was going on, by the amount of generosity going on. So
let's unpack parts of this. So,
yes. Because this was it was a total of 58 hours
Yeah.
of streaming. So there is a lot that went on. I caught myself up on the stuff that while I was asleep, because I had to sleep. There was a lot that went on. So yeah, Chris, take it away.
Yeah, let's unpack some of this. So, Tony, first of all, explain like why you feel a connection towards Hbomberguy specifically, because you talk about in your piece of how you a lot of ideological things that you either have in common that you've learned from him. Do you want to talk briefly about that?
So, when I was back in college, I was left-ish. I was a little bit liberal, a little bit left of that, give or take my day, and I finished playing. What's it called? Blood-Borne, which is one of my favorite PS4 games.
Yeah,
and it was I almost 100%ed it. It I wanted to just watch lore videos on it constantly, and I found a 2-hour long. Oh, Blood-Borne is great. Hold on, I'm sorry, Chris. Blood-Borne is genius, and here's why. And it's an 1.5 hour long video by Hbomb, and I was just like, wow, this movie is this video is amazing. I love it. I like, even though it's like 1 hour and 26 minutes, I just want to consume more of this content. And then in my recommended list was another video about why Fallout 3 was bad. And I was just like, oh, clickbait title. Let me watch this. And I watched that. And I was just like, oh, very interesting. I like this dude's takes on things. And then I saw his other videos. And his other videos were like massive takedowns of like alt-right YouTubers talking about like bullshit on the left. And I was just like, yeah, like the right sucks. Like they're just spewing lies and shit, and it's very funny and makes jokes and shit, and I was like, yeah, this is great. And because I watched most of his videos, I got a lot of other recommended videos for other people in quote unquote left tube. So there was Sean, Philosophy Tube. I mentioned ContraPoints before. What else? Peter Coffin. And a bunch of other people, and I'm just like, yeah, and I just started watching all of these videos and kind of absorbing all this content, and it kind of, pushed me further and further left, and I kind of realized like my place in the world and what's going on, and I'm like more appreciative of like, my state, like the stakes that I have and stuff,
Yeah. So this whole event, it was kind of it became like an unintentional, like unite the lefts kind of thing.
Yeah.
So people who showed up include, there was
Chelsea Manning.
Chelsea Manning was on a stream for Donkey Kong 64. Scott Benson of Night in the Woods.
Adam Conover. Adam Ruins Everything. Josh, what's his name?
Josh Sawyer, who did Fallout New Vegas. John Romero, who did Doom.
Yep.
Chuck Tingle.
Chuck Tingle showed up right towards the end. Oh, that was wild.
And most significantly, U.S. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who not only declared her support for trans rights, but she declared that the Nintendo 64 is the best system. Which is a controversial opinion.
Very controversial point.
Yeah.
Nostalgic.
Like, it was wild. Like,
yeah. So the thing about this is that you're right. It started off as spite, but it became like this really amazing movement. Like it became kind of a wholesome thing.
Yeah.
Hbomberguy, he's not like a PewDiePie level popularity dude.
Fuck
He's
PewDiePie.
not.
Also,
he's
fuck
not.
PewDiePie.
He's not a giant celebrity. He kind of accidentally, like when you read mainstream news stories about him, and it's like YouTuber or Twitch streamer, like he's not primarily a Twitch streamer, is my understanding. But also like Donkey Kong 64 is a really weird game to stream because it's such like rare N64 games like Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64 Like
Conker's
they're
Bad
basically
Fur Day?
collectathons, and you can just like watch a lot of the frustration with the mechanics of Donkey Kong 64 because
Oh, it's such a bad game.
it's such a I don't know if it's a weird game for sure.
Sorry, it's not. It's a. If that game was made in some capacity today, it would be considered a bad game.
Yeah, no, probably.
But it was like it's a fine game. It's just a collectathon.
What you got a lot from that is you got a lot of people on on Twitter, usually with the hashtag it was like hashtag trans crowdfund or something like that.
Yes.
And you have a lot of people who have like GoFundMes or Patreons who need financial support,
whether it be help for getting HRT,
or name change.
Therapy.
Yeah.
What else? There
like some people are having trouble. Like this is the cost of living.
Yeah, cost of living stuff. Sometimes people are unfortunately kicked out of their homes or unable to pay rent due to those types of situations. And this hashtag kind of was like something like even after this event was supported by obviously Hbomberguy retweeted a lot of these things because his event wasn't supposed to it was just supposed to be a joke. It was just supposed to be a spite thing. This wasn't supposed to happen out of this. He doesn't want to be the center of the whole he doesn't want to be the center of attention about this. And I think that is so. I think that's pretty honorable when it comes to like these types of issues. He keeps pushing for like, no, it's not me. It's these people. You guys should talk. You guys should discuss this. I'm just playing a dumb game.
Yeah. Granted, there are still some like cishet people who still saw it as a dunk, and don't do that. This is about supporting trans people and your trans friends and peers. And if you don't know trans people, you should still be like a good person.
Yes. And it was great because it was trending on Twitter.
It was cool. It was a great thing that happened.
A lot of people became friends through that stream, and I think that's like super cool. And a lot of like super small trans trans people on Twitter just like started reaching out to Casey Explosion. She's a trans woman from I believe Ireland.
Yeah. And
she was kind of like doing all the back end stuff, sending people on like I was like tweeting at like other like either other trans people on Twitter.
I know you
or,
were.
Like, like celebrities on Twitter. It's like, hey, go on Hbomberguy's stream.
Yeah.
And like I would tag Casey or I would tag Folding Ideas or Foldable Human, which is Dan Olson, another left tuber, to kind of like say like, oh, this person would be great on the stream, and then interact with them and then get them on the stream. And I mean, I wasn't obviously. I was just one individual of thousands of people that were obviously way more important than my schmuck of a face. And like we were getting like actual people on, like people like trans people who have like podcasts. Trans people of color, and it's like awesome. Like getting like small time people getting able to come on and talk about like things that are important to them, and their voice was the most important part of the stream, and I think that was so honorable.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. Sabrina, I don't know how in tune you are with either leftist YouTube or video games, but is there anything you wanted to like say? Any observations you had before you wanted to transition to your Marvel musing? Since we also have to let you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. I didn't know that happened, and I'm on Twitter quite a bit. But I think that's really cool, and I also love the title of this. The internet was good for once, because there so frequently can a good story like this just turn bad. Gamers are bad. It could have devolved very, very, very quickly. But I love that it was a chance to actually effectively uplift people and give certain types of people spotlight. Especially marginalized communities, and like, wow, that they were able to like PR that podcast, and that's so cool. I love that there are communities like this that can actually get together and do good things. And I'm sad that I wasn't on Twitter when this was happening.
Yeah,
a lot of that is. It was all weekend. It was a great experience.
Yeah, a lot of it is like the different like there's like trans Twitter and gaming Twitter and leftist YouTube Twitter and. Yes. We all kind of inhabit different circles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible, like, maybe the overlap just kind of missed at that weekend.
Right.
But, I don't know. That's another thing to talk about someday, because I think Twitter is a really weird, fascinating thing when it comes to, like, circles and whatnot. Sabrina, you talked about, you wanted to make it like a kind of a description of how the MCU helped you think about movies critically, but it just kind of turned into a thing about just the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about kind of how that happened?
Absolutely. So I initially had this really cool idea to only talk about, let's see, it was going to be Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because those are my top three. I would say, you know what? I'm going to get so much flack for this, but I'm going to put Winter Soldier as number one, and then Black Panther, and then Iron Man. I think that's my top three in the MCU. But like Winter Soldier and Black Panther go back and forth because I will watch one and be like, oh my God, this is so much better than the other. So maybe right now I'm in the phase where I'm just like falling back in love with the Winter Soldier. But when I started writing this out and talking about like how those three films taught me how to watch movies differently and be more critical and that kind of thing, I realized that I was spending a lot of time talking about Winter Soldier, and I didn't have time to really develop the other two, but also the degree to which I was really like being specific, I felt like would have benefited this more. Because it's basically just the argument for why I believe Winter Soldier is one of the best movies in the MCU. So basically, for those listeners who don't know, I am a screenwriter-director, and I have been, unfortunately, tasked with having, like, never being able to enjoy a film ever again, essentially.
I know what that feels like.
It is such a burden. Words cannot explain. I don't know. People are going to call this pretentious, and I don't care. But anytime someone recommends me something, especially someone I am just now meeting, I instantly am, like, turned off. I'm just like, please don't, like, when people are like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a screenwriter, director, and, da-da-da. And they're like, oh, my God, like, have you seen, I don't even know, have you seen Green Book? And I'm like, I don't want to speak to you anymore. So, I just don't. But that's obviously preference and things like that. And I feel like Winter Soldier kind of helped me get there because I initially with the MCU had only really been locked in with Iron Man, which is why that one was going to be the first one that I wanted to talk about, because it came out in 2008 and I had heard so much from my older brother, whom you guys will meet in the next two episodes, which is really cool. And
those are great. Yeah.
He has a vast knowledge of comic books, video games, rap, like so much. So he was just like, hey, like they're gonna start Iron Man, and that means the Avengers is coming. And I was like, I don't know what you mean, but is the X-Men involved? And then he was like, no, because they don't have the rights. And I was like, well, darn, I'll still give Iron Man a chance. And so when I saw it, I was completely blown away because it was not what I was expecting, because all I had known growing up was the X-Men cartoons, like the X-Men cartoon and Justice League and things like that, similar to what Izzy was saying, like Teen Titans. I was more kind of plugged into DC as a comic book universe, and then with the knowledge of X-Men existing and not really understanding like them and Spider-Man and how all that stuff worked out. And so then when I got a little bit older and I went and saw Winter Soldier, which was on a really cool spring break trip to Ireland, I went with this group of guys. And initially, what other movie was out that year? It was Noah with like Emma Watson and Russell. Yeah. Was that Russell Crowe?
Geez. Russell Crowe was Noah.
Yeah.
Geez,
So
that movie.
we were going to see that, and then we were like, wait a second, like Winter Soldier's out, we should go see that. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be very excited because I don't really like Captain America, because I'd seen First Avenger and I was like, nee. And then the entire time I'm watching Winter Soldier, I'm expecting it to turn into the First Avenger at some point, and it just wasn't that. And so my jaw was just on the floor the entire time. I was blown away. It's so methodical and calculated, and it's very well paced, and by that I mean like the first act, all the setup happens, and you know from the very first scene, three of the characters that you need to be paying attention to. Steve Rogers, Sam Wilson, and then vroom vroom, Black Widow. Because she comes in that really nice car, and she's like, you can't walk everywhere. No, he says that. She goes, hey, do you guys know where the Smithsonian is? I need to pick up a fossil. I'm telling you, I can quote this entire movie, okay?
Me too.
I'm obsessed. And I just feel like that's really strong character development. And then right after that, we have that lighthearted scene, and then boom, it's into some epic action. Like, what? In the first 10 minutes, I'm locked in forever. And I just feel like not only did they lock me in the first 10 minutes, but they also gave me enough like side plot detail work with Alexander Pierce and Nick Fury, and then also getting that little bit of development with Black Widow and Steve, and just like everything just felt so natural. And then also being from the DMV area, my mom actually, the week that they were filming that On Your Left scene, especially, because my mom always she works downtown in DC, and she always used to take a walk on the National Mall, during her lunch break. Yeah. And she was like, I couldn't go for my walk today because they're filming some Captain America movie. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I see all these tents set up with like camera crews, police cars everywhere, and some people are just running. Like, they're just running. I was like, yeah, well, turns out it was a scene. So, yeah, I have a very emotional connection to the Winter Soldier.
That's awesome.
I love it so much.
That's really cool.
That's really, really cool.
Anthony, do you have any questions for Sabrina about her experience?
No, that's just awesome. There's nothing really else.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because you talk about like how you talk about the kind of neutral color palette of it, mm-hmm. and I'm wondering because people might view that as a generic art style, but do you feel that? Do you feel like this movie still has like a personality of sorts? Like, do you think like trying to capture the espionage thriller, do you think that in itself is a personality, or are those like kind of gray color palettes you think are things that people might be tired of seeing? Like, how did you take that the first time? Because you expected First Avenger colorful CGI stuff,
right?
I
think that this is the answer that I always tell the entire class, but I think that it really helped to ground the film in that it looked like concrete. And so I felt like I was actually watching corporate espionage. And like, one of the first clips that we show our students in the Stuco is a Captain America serial from like 1930 something, so that they get an idea of like what the superhero genre, quote unquote, looks like. And I kind of felt like that. I feel like The Winter Soldier was a little bit of an homage back to those days when it was like, I hear you have Captain America helping you on your cases. And it was like, oh my God, here is Captain America helping them out on their cases.
That was a very good 1950s, 1940s.
That was great.
Radio announcer.
Yes. This just in, Captain America. It's also because in Legend of Korra, the openings were always like, last time Korra is struggling with this and she doesn't know what she's doing.
News on the run.
On the run. Yeah, exactly. And now Cap is on the run. So yeah, I feel like it is undersaturated, and I know that that's the biggest thing that Civil War I know gets a lot of flack for, but in this case, I think it worked because I needed to believe that Cap could go on a stealth mission, and the only way that I could possibly do that is if I see him in a super stealthy suit, being super hardcore, not his little like, oh my God, honor and valor,
He's gonna throw a knife at a dude's hand.
Literally, I was like, what is happening? This is not the Captain America I thought we were supposed to know. But I think that this film, and one of the reasons why I love it so much and why I call it a film instead of a movie, is because it employs like all of the mechanics and the techniques that are important in making an actually good quality film.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Phil, you're so pretentious.
I know. Oh, sorry.
So can we expect more love letters to Black Panther and Iron Man
should I do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's up to you. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Comment down below if you want to see more. Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah. And because I'm gonna wrap this up right now, but basically, think of this as a backdoor pilot, because if we're going to do Marvel Musings, I don't think we're gonna do it weekly like we did with these first 4. This was just to introduce the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But my encouragement to like the Sabrina, Tony, and Izzy, and if like the others, if like Thomas Rasmussen and Layla and Aaron wanted to write their own, or like any of our previous guests, if they wanted to pitch in, it's just kind of like a, hey, what are you thinking right now? This doesn't have to be a formal essay. It's just like, I have thoughts on what's going on right now, or like this is a shower thought that I had. So I'm hoping that these can just come in like whenever they show up, and it will be cool if we were gonna do a Patreon exclusive summary, kind of like this. But I'm going to put, like I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm going to put these 4 on Medium, that free to read, but everything else after this, we'll make that under our Patreon.
Patreon exclusive.
Yeah, so even if you just throw $1 at us a month, because that is also supporting us in many ways. We want to be able to pay writers to basically write really cool and unique essays for us. I said that we were going to have submission guidelines by January. It is now February, so that's on me for missing the deadline.
I have to clarify this. If anyone is listening that works for the state of Pennsylvania, I, who work for the state of Pennsylvania, am not getting paid from this. So if you either had reservations about giving money because you don't like me, you find me annoying or anything, don't worry. Your donation or your Patreon support doesn't give me any money. So good. So just give it and help out my friends because they need it.
So to all the haters out there, to all the Tony Pale haters,
haters can hate, but just give the rest of the squad money.
Yes,
potatoes gonna potate. I love that. I'm gonna use that now.
Yeah, but if you haven't read those already,
potatoes gonna potate. I love it.
I just ignored that, honestly. I'm just like, whatever, man.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good.
Thank you.
I'm gonna use that one now.
God damn it.
Also, midway through this conversation, my PS4 turned on.
Oh my gosh.
So that's great.
Are we giving our social
okay? I thought that was gonna go somewhere.
No,
but
like it was like I said like so my PS4, and then all of a sudden it did like the audio response thing.
Do we need to say our handles and stuff?
I'm on Twitter at Compenderizer. Sabrina, where can people follow you?
Follow me on Twitter at SabsClarke. That's at SABSCLARKE.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Tony, where are you at on Twitter?
I'm at the Pizza Taco. Yell at me. Talk to me. Debate me.
Yeah.
Argue with me about the things that I talk about because maybe it will help me get better. Sometimes it won't. Sorry. This weekend was weird.
At the Pizza Taco.
Yes,
okay.
Pizza Taco.
Izzy's at Deliverland. You can follow AP Marvel at AP Marvel on Twitter. You can also like us on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube. Leave a review for us. Give to our Patreon so you can read these awesome Marvel musings. And also follow our Medium page. I will put the first 4 Marvel Musings on our Medium by the time this goes up. Join our Discord and join all the discourse. Thanks to Charles Villanova for the graphics. Thanks to Steve Maldor for the music.
Fuck the Pats.
Look forward
Fuck the Pats.
to...
Fuck the Pats.
Yeah, sure. Look forward to our 2-part Black Panther 1-year anniversary episode. It's me basically assembling a round table. I basically shut up during that episode, but it's Sabrina, Sabrina's bro, Brandon S. Kessley of Rising of Minds, and our returning guest was Kara Mahorn, aka the Blurred Girl. So next week's episode will be about the Society of Wakanda. Week after that is going to be about the ending of Black Panther and basically how they suggest to to outreach to the whole world. That's how we started the episodes, but those three went on like a lot of really fascinating, interesting tangents, and I felt like I was learning so much, and it's a really good listen. I am really looking forward to editing that together for you.
I am so pumped.
Yeah, it's those are you guys you three should start a podcast of your own, to be honest. But yeah,
thanks. It was a lot of fun.
Anywho. Yeah, it was great. So look forward to that. And we're probably going to take a break, but these knuckleheads want to do an pre-Oscar episode, so I guess I'll be a part of that.
Yes!
Pre-Oscar.
It's going to be an off-topic episode. We'll probably just talk about the Oscar nominations, why the fuck cinematography is not going to be live on air. It's a fucking travesty to film.
Well,
God
if you want to hear
damn!
Anthony yell more, give to our Patreon so you can
I'll
listen to
probably
that.
Calm down by then. As I said at the beginning of when I joined, I have a big laundry list of things
Beginning
I need
of every
to do.
episode.
This is just anxiety ridden. Jesus Christ, Chris, can you just put this at the end?
Don't worry, the music will be playing over this.
Jesus
So.
Christ,
The little
thank
monologue.
God.
Okay,
Oh
I'm
my
gonna stop
God,
recording. Peace
I
out.
have so many things to do. Thank God we're done. All right, goodbye.
We have to let some reading go. Okay, goodbye.
Bye. I gotta stop. Oh my God, I have so many things to do. Okay.